like to just have an opening statement about today's presentation. Today, the role of a community college is more important than ever. From access to success has been a catchphrase in higher education, particularly in community colleges. Not too long ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, President Obama actually set a goal for the United States to be the first among all nations in college completion by the year 2020. So for this to happen, all students must have access to higher education, the tools to do well in college, and complete their degrees. That's our goal. This is what today's presentation is about. So I am honored to introduce to you Dr. Teresa Lurch. So I would like to introduce her, a little bit about her background. Professor Teresa Lurch dedicated the past 16 years to teaching at GCC while continuing her education at Azusa Pacific University and UCLA in pursuit of her postgraduate degrees, which focused on higher education and organizational change. Teresa continues to study policies and issues associated with the academic success of students of color. She was recently named the Student Equity Coordinator here at GCC. Today, Teresa will guide this discussion of equity and excellence at GCC as we talk about strategies for more equal access and success among student populations identified at risk. She pours her heart into analyzing, investigating, and implementing programs and services designed to assist at-risk students to complete their college education. She is very thoughtful, loving wisdom, kind, devoted to her duties, and diligent, working hard to help others. Let's welcome Dr. Teresa Lurch.
Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, so we have some competition, I understand, in the auditorium with one of the Board of Trustees members talking about entrepreneurialism. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm really pleased that you're all here. I just wondered, you have to divide yourselves sometimes on this campus when there are so many wonderful offerings. Can you hear me okay in the back? Yes? Yes? Okay. Great. Okay, I'm just going to start with this image. The reason I kind of chose this branch-like image is because when I started my dissertation, I remember saying I really want to have some impact on higher education. And the mentor that I had at the time said, well, even if you just add one leaf to the branch, you will have made a contribution of significance. So we have a lot of people to thank for where we are today, and today the purpose of this presentation is to talk about why we are even looking at student equity, and then how do we actually go about implementing student equity here at GCC. And so I'm going to introduce you to some of our student equity folks. We have quite a bit of people on our team helping us to just level the playing field for students who come in here with academic goals, and we want to help to see you achieve them. So I'll give you a little bit about me. I'm just really honored to have you all here. I'm sorry I don't have popcorn, but they wouldn't allow drinks or food another time. But I consider each of you a teammate, and I thank you. So, known for my contributions to the kinesiology department, as JC mentioned, for 16 years, and playing roles in governance committees and so forth. I did continue my work, my dissertation. I couldn't believe it when the door to UCLA opened once again. You'd think once was already such a gift. As an undergraduate, I started in psychobiology. I was pre-med, and I went into preventive medicine. The theme that brought me to where I am today is trying to understand motivation, what motivates people to want to take care of themselves and to achieve their goals. So I'm going to first define equity by the Academic Senate of California Community Colleges. They're guiding us through this process. They're providing us with a lot of money. We're talking about just a little under $1 million to be able to offer services and resources for you as students, and for the faculty and staff to be able to implement. So equity is parity in the achievement and success of all student populations, regardless of race, gender, age, disability, or economic circumstances. And excellence is subsumed and complementary to equity in that our core higher education objectives are to invest in human talent, better human relationships, democracy, and peace. As a community college, we are to educate large numbers of people to high standard and simultaneously to advance, generate, and disseminate knowledge. Now, in this first bubble, my Prezi, don't you love Prezi? It's a little different. We're changing it up from PowerPoint. We acknowledge that higher education influences and informs society, and of course, our institutions are comprised, though, of members that come from society who influence higher education. So thanks to academic freedom, the faculty are in a position to be able to challenge some of the thinking that we find in society that's not conducive to optimal living. And we're looking, I know that many of you are looking for greater social mobility as you pursue your education, to have more choices. So we have people like Sarah Goldberg here who advocate for us with the White House, and we have activists, we have people who are lobbying for us, and she had a big influence on community college policy. What's really timely, because we also had a student success initiative happening at the federal level, so it kind of trickled down to our chancellor's office and now here at our college. So we're putting scholarship into practice and taking a look at students as members of society served in our institution. We look at the input from student characteristics. Now this is a model that came from Alexander Aston. I think some of you who have studied higher education may have heard this name. And it was IEO, basically. So there's input that we looked at, environment, and outcome. And of course, in the environment, you can see the differences that we can make. So it's almost back to maybe what some of you heard about in your biology classes or psychology classes, or a combination thereof, the nature-nurture question, right? So, and you may have gotten the buzz about the book Mindset. Has anybody come across that book? Okay, and it's the belief, it's a new psychology about student success, and it's based on a dichotomous view of either you come into the world with a fixed mindset or you have a growth mindset, right? You believe that you can grow, you can learn, or no, I'm limited to what nature gave me. So can you guess which camp I'm in? I'm all about growth. So we acknowledge that there are differences in culture, ethnicity, race, socioeconomic status, and the like, with varying student characteristics, right? Yet all students at GCC enter with notions, dreams, and hopes of reaching academic goals, right? Aren't you all here with some ideas of what you'd like to get out of your educational experience here? So now I just want to address the difference between equality and equity. We get those mixed up. And I love this image of the difference. You can see that equality, you're giving people opportunity to see the same game going on. In this case, it's a baseball game. But it only works if everyone starts from the same place. And nobody here is starting from the same place, right? When you come to Glendale Community College. Equity is fairness, having access to the same opportunities, but we first must ensure that equity is happening. You can see the boxes, right, that the students are, these people are able to step on to be able to see what's going on with the games. To ensure equity before we can actually enjoy equality. Agreed? but in serious consideration of equity and excellence with respect to your goals, your academic goals as students, the leaders here, the student equity leaders here, first identified disproportionately impacted student groups. And that's why I gave you this other handout, so that you could understand how did we come across recognizing that there was a need for student equity. So this student equity plan that we came up with, it has a back and a front, explains it. Some of you may have also heard of the Student Success Program, right? Student Success and Support Program, so we call it the 3SP. Now that's for everyone across the board, but we really felt like, we responded to the need that the Chancellor's Office gave us an opportunity with this money I was talking about to actually investigate and do something about leveling the playing field for students who don't come in with the same materials, the same resources that you need to be successful here. So we identified people that were not meeting their goals as quickly as they would like to, and were able to find out statistically what was happening and found that they were disproportionately impacted, okay? So the areas that we investigated was access, and we found that our veteran groups, veteran students were the least represented as far as the number of people coming in that had access initially coming into the community college, maybe not even knowing that we had resources for them. And then course completion, and then degree certificate completion, and then finally transfer. And I'm just going to put in a little side note that not all of you come in here with the goal of transferring, and that's okay if you're here for CTE, some kind of career technological education or certificate. We want to be behind you. So that explains your student equity plan and you. And so there are many components that I looked at when I wrote. My dissertation was based on studying learning communities for students of color in community colleges. And I found that these were some of the key issues. Was motivation. You know, what happens that students don't want to lose motivation. And part of what I found, and I used a theoretical framework that has been tested with other types of studies as well, other PhDs, with the impact of social and academic capital. You all have it, right? You all have, I'm guessing all of you are part of the social media, yes? Yes. Raise your hand if you are. Put down your devices if you've got them out. But yeah, that you really are connecting through each other. So what happens over time as you begin to feel like you're part, like you really belong, and you identify with being a student here, eventually what happens is that social capital, the people that you get to know, becomes transmuted into academic capital. And ultimately, what we want to see is that that then gets transmuted into financial capital, right? Anybody against getting some financial capital in their lives? Social mobility, more options of what you can do with your life, right? And so we need to look at what helps students persist and what leads us to social mobility. And so that's my basis for writing the student equity plan, which we submitted to the Chancellor's Office on January 1st. And again, we're to see through all the plans that we had to cover all our disproportionately impacted groups. And a large part of what we're doing we're going to present a little bit more in detail about our learning communities that we've developed for the different student groups we identified. Now, I want to just get into the social capital thing. I did an environmental scan before I started my dissertation and tried to understand just more than what meets the eye here on campus, and discovered that if you go to our presidential conference lounge, I mean not lounge, but the conference room, AD 121, and you'll see a big picture of what this space, what our campus looked like before we started building in the 1940s. And in the lower left-hand corner is a photo of the president of USC at the time putting his cornerstone to our campus, representing that he was supporting us, and gave a convocation, meaning that he blessed It's the campus. So that's our legacy. And that's the kind of thing that we want to be able to pass on, a legacy to each one of you, so that you have that leg up and to be able to make it toward your academic goals. Now, what I found in my study was that the importance of program structure, and let me just give you an example of what structure might be. How many of you are involved in student outreach services? Anybody here right now? Well, we have those folks to thank. They play a very large role in letting people know that we even exist and what programs we have in place. And some of the student equity counselors that you're going to be meeting with our panel later have done that kind of footwork. Another example would be having mentors, people that have been just a little ahead of you and are willing to take you by the hand and say, let me help you navigate this system. Study groups, study areas. We have our learning center. We have space that's really important. As we're going through all this building, you're being so patient and watching this happen. We're going to create more open spaces for you. Same with the library. There's going to be more open spaces for you to meet and greet and work together. So we're going to keep doing that, offering more resources and more centers. Collaborative work and leadership development, identity workshops, and enhancement of your own cultural awareness. How many of you are in ethnic studies or any kind of social sciences, that type of thing? So you're going to be able to read some of your cultural authors, experiences, history, and competency. Now, the pivotal role of program culture, I'm going to get back to this thing about accruing cultural capital. But just some examples that we offer would be orientations, contacting you if you're a member of any kind of a club, computer labs, tutoring, counseling, financial aid, career planning. You've all done that, at least part of it. Those of you who are early in your careers, you have a lot to look forward to. Subject workshops, guest speakers, field trips, subject forums, assessment placement. You've all done those, math and English, I'm sure. Math or English-focused introduction to college, those types of things that we would like to offer just to help people acclimate to our environment here. Having a counselor to assist you in your academic endeavors and doing the pre-collegiate work that you may not have gotten done before you came here. So those are some examples. And so what I found in my study is that the structure in a conducive environment, that means student-centered, okay, so our eyes are really on how are we helping the student. It's not just about the program itself or the structure or the institution, but who are we here for? It's you, it's students. The pivotal role of program culture for accrual of cultural capital transmitted by high performance and values of transfer readiness for student success. So in doing this, what we're helping you along with is getting equipped with the information that you need. So, and to actually value the prospect of completion, whether it's a degree or to transfer into another institution. How many are planning to go to CSUN eventually? That's probably one of our biggest schools that we get transferred into. Cal State, any Cal State? How about USC? Anybody shooting for USC? And how about my alma mater, UCLA? Bruins? Yeah. Good. So, helping students reach their goals, that's what it's all about. So, what I challenge everyone to be thinking about is how do current practices at our college inspire a more comprehensive and integrated approach to equitable student support and success? How does our college embrace inquiry and innovation toward equitable student success so we can be asking, is there a better way? How does GCC promote an equitable persist and transfer culture? Emphasis on persist and maybe transfer if that's what's in your goals. Working closely with your counselor to discover that. So with that, I'd like to introduce then our panel, which is our student equity counselors. You got to see a sneak preview here in your handout. And on the back, it describes then the learning communities that they have spearheaded.
And And Miss Nancy Medina is not going to be able to join us, but she's the one who runs the program for foster youth. And after the panel discussion, we have flyers for anyone who's interested in our particular programs.
My name is Blanca Martinez. I'm actually an alum of Glendale College, so I started here back in 2003. And I did my 3 years here before transferring to UCLA, where I received my bachelor's in psychology. I took a little time off between my bachelor's and master's because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my degree. So I went to study abroad to Hong Kong, Brazil, Thailand, and I learned a lot about myself and about other cultures, and that's what college does for a student if you're willing to put yourself out there. I knew I loved psychology, but I wanted to solidify my passion for my career. And I knew counseling was part of it, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with counseling. So after studying abroad, I decided to go work at a clinic, and I was a health educator for pregnant or parenting teens. And I was actually the presenter to present on safe sex health matters. Then after that, they ascended me to a case manager position, working again with pregnant or parenting teens. And I was working in the East LA community, Whittier community, LA area, downtown LA area as well. So, and in the South LA community as well. So after that, I received a lot of feedback. I worked there for about maybe 3 years, and I received a lot of good feedback from the parents I was working with. And they were saying, you have a real essence with working with people, and I think counseling would be beneficial for you. And likewise, I maintained my contacts here at Glendale College, and I came back and I decided to consult with the counselors I knew here well, which was Dr. Troy Davis and Dr. Kevin Mesa and Dr. Ramona Barrios. And they all questioned me as to why I wasn't in school pursuing my master's. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my career. So they inspired me to go back, and they said, just do counseling. You have a knack for it. You're good at it. So just pursue that degree. So I decided to go back to school, and I went to Loyola Marymount University, where I completed my master's in counseling. And then right after counseling, I decided to apply for an internship position here at Glendale College, and I did my internship here about maybe in 2013 to 2014 academic year. And then right after completing my internship, and along that, I forgot about my internship at Salvation Army in Bell. I was working at a homeless shelter, doing also mental health counseling. So if at any point I want to go back and become a therapist, I can go ahead and do that as well. So after finishing my internship here at Glendale College, we heard about the great things that the college was doing under the Equity and Student Success programs, and they wanted to hire counselors to work specifically in those areas. And so right after finishing my internship, I got hired here back in November, and I said, yeah, sign me up, I want to do this. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I'm a first-generation college student myself. So when I started, I knew nothing about how to go to college. I mean, I did what I had to do because my parents told me get good grades in high school. And I remember specifically when I came home and I was in middle school, and I brought my grades to my mom and I got a C. I thought that she was going to be mad, that she was going to be upset, but in reality she didn't really have a good foundation of what that meant. So it was just like a flat affect, like, okay, keep doing what you do. And I knew at that point that I guess I'm missing something. And that's the social capital that we're talking about. Because people that have parents that are knowledgeable about the higher education process know more about how to help students navigate that system. And for me, after high school, I got accepted to Cal States. I didn't even apply to UCs, and I got accepted to Cal States. But the reason I decided to go to a community college is because I felt safer there, because I didn't know how to survive a college system. So coming here, I gravitated towards Dr. Kevin Mesa, Dr. Troy Davis, Dr. Ramona Barrios, and they were the ones who helped me increase my social academic capital. So I want to come back, I want to return, and I want to help you increase your social and academic capital. And that's what Oscar, Robert, Nancy, and I are here to help you out in doing. So before I take too much time, I'm going to allow others to introduce themselves as well.
Sure. How you guys doing? My name is Oscar Flores. I'm an equity counselor here. I'm a transfer student myself, first generation, just like Blanca. I'm an immigrant, as you guys can see. I always say that very proudly. I came here when I was 9 years old, didn't get out of ESL until I was a senior in high school, and I have a degree from one of the best universities in the world. I always say that as well. I'm very proud of that, those achievements. I'm a Bruin. Transferred from East LA College. Spent about 7 years working on my BA. 4 years at a community college, 3 years at UCLA. And the reason why is because I was always working. I worked full-time, going to school full-time, part-time when I was at the community college. But once you get to transfer, you don't get that luxury anymore. If you're on financial aid, you have to actually be a full-time student. So while I was attending UCLA, I kept a full-time job as well. Needless to say that getting 5 hours of sleep during that time was one too many. I spent about 7 years working for UCLA undergraduate admissions, finding out the discrepancies between what ethnic groups got into some of the UCs, and got motivated into becoming a counselor from that point. I was going to law school. I was thinking about law school at one point. As a matter of fact, I took my LSAT, and I filled out a lot of applications to law school, and I did get into UCLA Law. I'm very proud of that. My mom disowned me when I decided not to go. Yeah. And I told her, Mama, I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore. She was very upset with me. Not that she knew, what it meant to me, but the fact that she was going to have a lawyer in the family, said, mi hijo es un abogado. It's a big thing for the Latino families. However, I knew I would have been a very, how can I put this, miserable lawyer. I would have been. It would have been the wrong career for me. I wanted to help my community. I wanted to help where I wanted to be best used where my community was. And then I started doing more research about where more black and brown students end up, and the community colleges is where they end up after high school. So I figured, where is it that I could, use my skills to promote that equity? And I decided, go back to school, get my master's in counseling, and then go from there. Haven't looked back since. I've been a counselor for almost 12 years now. I love what I do. I'm glad that I'm here now to help GCC on what they're wanting us to do, which is increase more equity. Diversity is big on education. Don't ever look back and say, hey, you know what, I didn't go to a diverse place. I believe that GCC could be that. You will definitely encounter that once you transfer. Regardless of where you transfer, most of your classes are going to be diverse. You yourself should actually promote that from this point forward, regardless of what career you go into. Diversity is key. Besides that, what can I tell you about myself besides, I already did this, right? Rob?
So I'm Robert Williams. I am the, I guess we're working together to create our program. So I may specifically coordinate for the GCC's Black Scholars Group, but as an equity team, I think that you're getting the notion that we're all about multiculturalism. We're all about equity and making sure that there's a level playing field, so to speak. But again, I head the Black Scholars Program. A little bit about me, different kind of path. I, straight out of high school, went to UCLA. I was a music major, opera performance. Did very well at that, excuse me, and then decided that being a musician didn't pay well. And so I decided to switch up. And I maintained the major, but I went into women's studies, to be honest with you. Studied women of color. And so that was my second major. And people always look at me funny when I tell them that I was a women's studies major at UCLA. It's true. And I was like in it, not just to date women. I mean, it happened, but you know, that's neither here nor there, right? No, but it was a great experience. And I guess this is a good segue into the fact that I had children when I was 21, my first child when I was 21. So probably around the same age as all of you, or perhaps younger. So I had my first boy. I had a year left of school to finish and dropped out. Come from a perspective, a family paradigm where the father takes care of the kids. The father marries the woman. Did that. To support the family, you work 2 jobs. You do whatever it takes. You grind, right? So, whatever it takes. And so that's what I did. And I decided, without the guidance of a counselor at UCLA, I decided to drop out with a year left. Wow, crazy. So, worked 2 jobs, ended up working with the school district in Santa Monica. Started in special ed. Started as an aide, worked my way up, slowly but surely became well respected in that community. And this is around 1993, 94. So I'm aging myself, but
Yeah, you just gave away your
yeah,
age.
it's okay.
I have more brain than you do. So
Yes.
yeah.
We're seasoned, so we know what we're doing. It's really just smoke and mirrors though. No, but really, ended up staying in education, in special education, specifically for 10, 12, 15 years, decided, okay, I need to go back to school and get my bachelor's degree. Ended up finishing at, with a psychology degree. Awesome. But I had to go to SMC, had to do that whole transfer thing, right? And it worked out. It was long and hard, and the nights, you know, with kids running around and wives to please and stuff like that, it was difficult. I actually became a single father. So I had now 2 boys, single father, going back to school, getting a degree in psychology, trying to better myself. So a lot of you may have an experience where you are straight out of high school. The idea, though, is that you're trying to better yourself. We all have a goal that we're trying to achieve. Whether or not that goal is a transfer, whether or not it's a certificate, or whether or not we want a PhD or an EDD, we have a path. And my trajectory was a little bit different, but the end goal was the same, and that was to get educated, to enable myself to put my family in a better position to survive, right? Got my bachelor's degree, went to CSUN, got my master's degree in counseling. And my focus throughout, I think, this whole time has been people of color. Specifically, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's African American specific. My wife is Brazilian. There's a strong pull to the Latin American community. My son, Paulo Henrique Guzman Garcia, that's his name, right? So I have to understand what it is to be a person of color. I think one thing that we fail to mention is the privilege that we have. As a man, even as a person of color, I have a privilege. Now, you see in the news all of the atrocities that black men are facing specifically today, right? And even within that context, though, I think it's important to recognize that as a man, I still have privilege. Now, there's women out there who have perhaps less privilege, women of color who have less privilege than I do, based on the fact that there are threats upon them. There's the way that society, what's the word I'm trying to find? I guess just encapsulates women, the expectations that they have of women of color, of all women. It can destroy the psyche, it can destroy the spirit. So I just want to make sure that you all recognize that, or you all understand that I recognize my privilege sitting up here. It is a privilege to be in higher education. It is a privilege to be able to get an education. when Blanca traveled to Brazil, when she traveled to Taiwan, Hong Kong, our travels, I'm sure Oscar has traveled throughout the world as well.
Not as much.
Not as much.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we all experience people who don't have that opportunity that you have sitting right here today. And I think it's important that we all remember that we have a privilege. There's varying degrees of privilege, and that's what we're trying to kind of level here. We're trying to just, with our program, with the GCC Black Scholars, with La Comunidad, with the program for foster youth, we're all trying to sort of level the playing field and help everyone understand their privilege and how they can use their privilege. Can you use your privilege to help other people?
So our first initiation is we're launching in our summer bridge program, and so we found that students, when they take this assessment test, they don't study for the math, particularly the math assessment test. English tests they tend to do better, but the math assessment tests they don't do better. They don't do well on the test, and what we're finding out, they don't even know what test they're taking, what are the implications, and how to go about studying for this test. So what we're doing, what we try to implement is a summer bridge program, so they can come in during the summer, starting this summer, June 22nd to July 24th, where they're doing a math review. So this is all reviewing all summer long for math, to take that math assessment test. Now, if you have students that have already taken the math assessment test, then you can still use that review that summer to do better when you do actually enroll in that math class coming fall semester. Now we're pairing up the math review session with a student development class, and those student development classes are going to be taught by the student equity counselors as well as other counselors as well. So the whole purpose of this is we're trying to build a cohort, and also research has shown that students do really well if they're in a cohort community setting, because there's that whole sense of belonging, one, and that whole support system that they get from one another. Together they'll be building, increasing that social academic capital. Together meaning as students, as counselors, as teachers, as professors, as a community all together. And right after this, finishing the summer bridge, we're thinking about implementing a first year experience, again with the cohort mentality setting, that you'll be coming in, taking one class, all of the students that are part of the La Comunidad, which is what Oscar and I are leading, and Black Scholars, which is what Robert Williams is leading. They'll all be coming in as a group during summer and then transitioning over to the first year experience. Now, if you don't complete the summer bridge program, that's okay. You can still come in during the first year experience as well.
The other thing is that even if you're not part of the first year experience, everybody in here could actually benefit from one of our clubs. Actually, we could benefit from you guys being part of our clubs. La Comunidad, for instance. It's not necessarily a club, but it's the GCC's effort to, and Black Scholars is GCC's effort to increase ethnic awareness amongst our Latino and our African American students within the campus. Now, just by, you don't necessarily have to be Latino or African American to actually be part of this group. In order to create how can I put this, a diversity, awareness. In order to increase the diversity awareness amongst GCC and amongst the classes, and even to help you aid yourself into the transition of going to a bigger school where you're actually going to experience being a more diverse setting, we need you. We need you to be part of this. You could be mentors. You could definitely be mentors to students coming on, especially if you're a seasoned GCC student. I truly believe that everybody gains something from everybody else. And I can tell you that from personal experience because, I went to ELAC, and then from ELAC I went to UCLA, which I was in a 30-seat classroom, and then I went to a 400 student classroom. And you definitely have to speak up. You definitely have to start getting to know people around you in order to create that social networking and social mobility that everybody talks about. So being part of clubs like this one, or just organizations like this one, would help you in case you haven't experienced that diversity at home or in your schools, meaning high schools or junior highs. Okay, here in college, you'll definitely be it's definitely a forum for you to experiment and explore. And taking advantage of something like this will be great for your future endeavors. I personally think so.
Has anyone ever asked themselves, why isn't there a like a Black Student Union on campus? Why isn't there a MECHA on campus or a Pride Center on campus? Why? Has anyone ever asked themselves that question? Looking around, we just created a Veteran Center, right? The Pride Center, the LGBTQ Center. We have probably a LGBTQ population here. We definitely have a Latino population here. We have Voices, which is specifically designed for AB 540 students, but a lot of the Latino population have sort of adopted that group as their own, but have not, like, it's a real question, it's not rhetorical. Like, anyone ever like think that to themselves? One? Couple? Okay. So, what do you think that we should do as a campus in order to remedy that? Or do you think that those things are even good ideas? Why is it a good idea to have a culturally based club? Right? So these are some of the questions that the administration here is asking themselves as well. Like, wait, they step back and they realize that this is happening. And so the administration decides, you know what, we need to hire some people to figure out what the hell's going on our campus. Because what's happening is our Black, Latino, people of color on this campus aren't comfortable. They're not happy with what's going on. And the result of that unhappiness is they're not transitioning from semester to semester. They're not transferring at the rates that they should. The numbers are deplorable. Graduation rates, it's terrible. There's probably quite a few of you who have this notion in your mind that you want to go to a Cal State school, and you've never thought about a UC school. Hasn't even crossed your mind. Why is it that there's legitimate reasons to not think about UCs, and I think that there's reasons where that are illegitimate, and those reasons are financially. I can't afford a UC, I don't want to go private, I'm going to go the cheapest route I can possibly go, right? Totally legitimate. I have family concerns. I am from a collectivist, I have a collectivist point of view. I'm going to maintain my contact with my mom and dad at home. I got to stay close. I'm going to go to my local CSU school. Totally legitimate. What I don't appreciate, I guess, is the lack of academic capital that many of the students that come into my office have. Meaning, they've never been told that they should look at a UCLA. They've never been told that Berkeley is in their grasp. They believe that they're only deserving of a CSU school, if that. Students are saying, I'll go to whoever will take me. That's not the perspective to have. You're worth more than that, right? You are. And maybe you've never been told that you shouldn't be a scientist or an astronaut, but you can achieve that, right? And so I think that that's what the counselors here are trying to do, is we're going to try to help you understand that your choices don't have to be so narrow anymore. We're hoping to help you redefine and reimagine what your educational journey is going to look like. So, I don't know, that's what we're going to be doing in our programs, and I know that everyone has different lifestyles and different options going on, but
That's key thing, lifestyle, all right? In terms of paying back loans or how we do, as a student, you gotta do your research about how you're gonna be investing your time, your energy, and your money, okay? That's very big. If you're gonna be commuting, if you're gonna be living on campus, you could cut into the cost of your education there. Single ply, two ply, you know? You could actually cut into that as well. You just got to be very careful how you invest that money and how you invest your time on anything else.
And I just want to add, you're not doing this research on your own. That's why you have us here. You can come to us and ask us questions, email us, and keep that a continual relationship with us, because we've been through the system, so we can better guide you that way, versus someone who doesn't know where to go for the research. So you can come to us and we can guide you through the process. Another thing I want to add that Robert mentioned is we can't do this by ourselves. We do need your help and assistance.
Yes.
Hi, I'm president of the Alcohol and Drug Studies Club. I'm actually also a member of Voices. And a lot of this information you guys are giving, I don't know if a lot of the students have felt this way, but me, as I have a 1.5 years here, it wasn't until last semester that I was active in clubs, like the LGBT club here in school, which unfortunately didn't have enough support on campus, and it's something that we work hand in hand with, because I myself was trying to form a unity between other clubs, and it's why I became also a member of Voices. But going along with what he said, we don't get the information about us even applying to UCs because we're the minority here. And I feel like if you guys could stop by at any time at the student center where the clubs are at, a lot of us hang out there in between classes. And I know we'd be more than willing to support you guys in whatever it is you're doing, and we'd be part of that too.
Definitely. The one thing we want to increase is awareness, cultural awareness, and so forth. I think that's the best way to help out.
October 1st, we are going to have a walkout from the Glendale College to City Hall under the banner of Black Lives Matter. GCC very generously supported us and funded the Sociology Club and myself. So we are going to do that on August. Did I say August? October. Yes. Yeah, October. You know, we're gonna drink some beer, I guess. Okay. So October 1st, between 12 and 12:30, we're gonna meet right El Vaquero Plaza, and there is gonna be banner that we're gonna wear either overhead or armband, and we're gonna walk from here to. Of course, police officers are going to escort us to the City Hall, so you are not going to participate in any sort of misbehavior, including riot. So please join us October 1st. And I would like to give the panelists and Dr.